my name is Karen Fabian and I am the founder of Bare Bones Yoga. Today I'm going to be demonstrating a number of poses that are great for rowers. I work on a weekly basis with rowers at a nonprofit here in Boston called Community Rowing, and I've learned a lot about the different kinds of muscle tightness they experience given what they're doing when they're in the boats on the water. These poses generally focus on things like stretching out your hamstrings, your lower back, your hips, and your shoulders. And they'd be great for anyone that's doing running or cycling or rowing. Let me show you a couple. The first one is downward facing dog. Downward dog is a great pose for stretching out your hamstrings, but when they are tight, you may find your back going into a rounding position. All you need to do to adjust is bend your knees. As you bend your knees, push your hips up, push your legs back, and pull your belly up towards your spine so your hands get a little bit lighter. Take 5 deep breaths. Then walk your feet forward and hang in a forward fold. Again, this may be difficult if your hamstrings are tight and you may end up pulling away from the ground and bowing more from your waist. To get that deep crease in your hips and forward fold, just bend your knees. You could put your hands on the floor, you could grab your elbows, or you could put your hands on a block. And again, take 5 deep breaths. Another pose that's really good for opening up your hamstrings is triangle. Taking your feet apart to any distance that feels stable. Line up your feet so that your front heel is in line with the instep of your back foot. Take your arms out wide, side to side, and then tip forward, bringing your hand down to your shin and your other arm up. You'll notice your arms are pretty much on the same line, and you're rolling your upper shoulder back and pushing your lower shoulder a little bit forward. If you do have a yoga block nearby, you can put it behind your front leg, right under the shoulder, and then rotate your gaze up to the ceiling. Take 5 deep breaths here, and then switch sides. If it bothers your neck to look up, you can look to the side, or you can look down. Another great stretch for your hamstrings is to do a straddle leg stretch. So, coming up from where you were in triangle, just rotate your big toes in a little bit so your inner thighs rotate a little bit towards the wall behind you. If you have a block, you can put the block in front of you, or you can just bring your hands down to fingertips on the floor. You can also bend your knees. As you do this, lift the inner arches of your feet and press down into the outer edges of your feet. And then lift up. You can also add something to this pose to open up your shoulders. Interlacing your hands behind your back, you'll take the same forward bend. If it's hard to do that, use a strap or a towel and put that between your hands. You'll then forward fold from there, and this will give you the added benefit of opening up your shoulders. Another pose you can do to not only help open up the shoulders, but stretch the hamstrings is a forward fold with your arms bound with a strap. Stepping to that same position with your front heel in line with the instep of your back foot, center your hips towards the front of the mat, take your hand bind, lean back, and then lean forward. As you come down, you may feel the urge to bend your front knee. Go ahead and do that, and then just drop your gaze down. Let your head relax. Press down into your back heel. Take your arms up and over your head, and then come up. And then, of course, you'd switch to the other side and repeat. So those are some postures that will help stretch out your hamstrings and open up your shoulders. Let's talk about the back. A great pose to open up your lower back is child's pose. You'd come onto your hands and knees, take your knees apart, bring your big toes together, sit back on your heels, and then stretch your arms forward, put your head down. If this bothers you at all, you could bring your arms by your sides. Child's pose opens up your lower back as well as stretches your hips. You can also try a twist on your back to stretch out the lower back as well. Bringing one knee in towards your chest, rotate that knee across your body, open the other arm out to the side, and then switch. You can also stretch out your hamstrings from a seated position at the floor. Bending your knees, or you can even use a strap or a towel around the bottoms of your feet. Lean forward, pressing your feet forward, and gently pulling your chest towards your thighs. When you begin to feel like you're rounding into your back, bend your knees a little bit more and try more for length in the lower back instead of rounding it. And take a few deep breaths there. Another pose that you can try to open up your shoulders is bow. This also has the added benefit of stretching the fronts of your legs, which can get really tight from heavy muscular work in the boat or running. Coming onto your belly, reach your hands back for the outer edges of your feet, and then lift up. You can also do this with your arms at your sides. Or you can also do it with a strap between your hands. And then lastly, a great pose for opening up your hips is called half pigeon. Coming into half pigeon from downward dog, you'd bring your right foot forward, putting your knee right in front of your hip. So that means as you look down at your knee, you'd want it directly in front of your hip, not to the left of it on this right side or outside the hip, right in front of the hip. The back leg is directly behind you, and you can drop your head down to a block. And then coming up, you would do the same pose on the other side, bringing your left knee forward, putting that in front of your hip, and then dropping your head down onto the block. If you at all feel like when you come down, your shoulders are creeping up towards your ears, you would just drop your shoulders down. You could even bring your arms by your sides. So I hope you found these poses useful. These are all great postures to do for tight hips and shoulders and lower back. You can do them in a sequence or do them individually, just holding each one for 5 breaths. If you have any questions, you may contact me on my website, barebonesyoga.com. Namaste.